And speaking to that, like driving growth, right? So there's a lot of talk right now about ad blocking technologies, right? And so that's going to impede on our ability to reach new customers, right? Gmail and Outlook are implementing certain screening technologies for the inbox. What practices must we put into place to ensure that our messages are getting to the inbox and are being delivered and have a chance to being open and read and acted on? So,
I think it's really about understanding who your audience is and what their engagement is with your brand and specifically with the email. If someone signed up and a year later they are not engaged with your email message at all and they're no longer engaged with your site, they're only going to bring down your deliverability if you continue to mail to them. So really make sure that you have a good onboarding process from the time you get them as a subscriber or customer and see if you can keep them, and always have a good re-engagement strategy, because people do eventually if they're not engaged with the brand, they get bored and you just don't want to keep them on your list.
I would say Gmail is not my friend. I was at a B2C company and you had 64% of your database is Gmail. You need to get into Gmail, right? So what we did was we started testing the email service systems. We used Litmus, we used email on Acid, we checked our deliverability. Just because we're sending emails didn't mean they actually got there. We checked what tab we were going into, whether it's promotion, social, updates. Some of it had to do with subject line, some of it had to do with content, because there's a little paragraph that shows up before the email gets sent, making sure that's relevant, because that decides where you're placed within those tabs in Gmail. Your sender score, as she said before, making sure you're 89 and above. And making sure you have that deliverability. Checking consistent sending times, don't send every single day, because then obviously your promotions, or they're going to put you in spam. And also segment. So if you're going to be segmenting even your people in Gmail, some of them won't get an email today because they're not in that particular promotion. So make sure that you are using those domains or those email providers very carefully. Because once you're on their bad list, you're on their bad list. And if your database is predominantly Gmail or Yahoo or those type of things, you're really going to be hurting your results.
The most important thing to keep in mind, you always hear talk about subject lines, but actually how people determine what they're going to read is by the from line. If your mother emails you, you're going to open it or not open it differently than if a brand emails you. So who you are is the #1 determinant of whether your messages are going to be opened and read. So I think that, list hygiene, as everyone has said, is important. It's also important to make sure that you're talking to your customer about what they want to hear. Nobody woke up this morning and said, boy, I really want an email from such and such a company. So you really have to earn your right to be in their inbox. And if you don't earn that right, off you go. And for those who are B2B, one thing you should be aware of is that the new Outlook filter, I can't remember the name of it. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't think of the name. It is so slick that it doesn't just filter outside mail, it filters your coworker's mail. So if you have a coworker who always sends you crap that you never open, it goes straight into the crap folder.
From my perspective, or from Big Five's perspective, there are a couple things. If people aren't opening things, and that's your problem. You got to work on your content. Right now, I was on a panel a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the black ops or white ops, or whatever you want to call it, for just banner ads, not to be bringing another topic. But the key there is not about getting around it. The key is addressing the problem. If it's not good content and not interesting and not relevant, you will be ignored. Full stop. And I know I do it as a human person. And these bots, you're going to get around them for 5 minutes, and maybe 5 minutes. So you just really need to look at your content, see if it's really working, test it, test. Graphics, just because you like it doesn't mean someone else likes it. And then the other thing too, I would say, is who you work with for email needs to be like somebody who thinks about your business. And if they're not thinking about if you're getting into Gmail, if they're not looking at the new thing that's causing the problem through Comcast, through whomever the email service providers are, that's a problem. You need to have people who are defending on your behalf as a business because you don't have the time, and you need to know that you're working with somebody who cares about your business.
I would say you really have a very good chance the first time that they come up and want to receive emails from you. You build that goodwill immediately, and from there on, you may not want to sell them something immediately. You might want to just welcome them and just let them know that we're here. Whatever the LegalZoom side is, we're here. I mean, how many of you have used LegalZoom? And how many of you got a welcome email? You did. That's new. That's not something that was done in the 15 years of LegalZoom. There was no welcome to LegalZoom. So even something that simple has shown a great engagement with customers that has improved our metrics and is just very good for customer experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's the technology side, which we covered very well too, like Litmus, inbox monitoring, things like that are fantastic. IP reputation, which you should know what that score is. And another part to Justin's point here is that the email client is also looking at what people are doing with that email, not just whether they're receiving it, right? So just because it was sent or received or opened, that's not the end of it, right? Was it forwarded? Was it clicked on, right? How many seconds was it viewed, right? So we're working with technology now, like Litmus provides this as well. How many seconds did somebody view your email, right? Especially as you look at different devices too. If I'm on mobile, Litmus looks at span rates of like 0 to 2 seconds, 2 to 10 seconds, over 10 seconds, to actually look at engagement overall. So that goes right back to content, marketing, what do my emails look like, what am I doing call to action wise, and are people actually taking advantage of that? One last point on segmentation, which is a great point as well. We know that kind of statistic, 80% of revenue comes from 20% of your customers. So look at those conversions as well. Like what's happening with my smaller groups of really engaged people, and understand what they're doing there. What are they clicking on if I'm personalizing it, send times, things like that, where I can just get an understanding of why those people are engaged and why the rest of these people aren't, and try to replicate that success.